All right, my friends, it's 7 o'clock. It's 7:01. Thank you for being here. Let's go ahead and get started. More people will drop in, inshallah, as the night continues. Tonight, what I would like to do is wrap this up and spend some time talking about pregame. So our agenda tonight is all about the pregame. I have some resources to share. I'm going to give you some work time so you can put down some thoughts about what it is that what is important to you in a pregame. But before that, we have our goal. The goal is to develop your officiating skill set using your individual skills and commitment to improving. Welcome. Kobe Bryant said, everything negative, pressure, challenges is all an opportunity for me to rise. How can you use this maximum to improve your officiating? Everything negative, pressure, challenges is all an opportunity for me to rise. I'll give you a minute to think about it, and then I'm going to ask you to share. What do you think? Someone take themselves off mute. What can we do? Everything negative, pressure, challenges, and all an opportunity for me to rise.
Stay calm.
You stay calm, Andy?
Yeah.
Okay. And what happens if your calming strategies are not working?
So you don't let the whatever the negativity, pressure, challenges are affect your your demeanor, right? Because that's only going to go badly. If it does start to go badly, I don't know, you have to acknowledge the coach or where that problem is coming from, and respectfully let them know that you're doing your job, and
Okay, thank you. There's a motorcycle group passing by my apartment. I live on the 8th floor, and that's how loud it is. If you could hear that. Anyone else?
Steve, another really important thing is, say if a coach, you are having an issue with a coach, one of the first things you need to do is talk with your partner.
Okay.
For instance, like one way to go about it would be switch sides. So say if you were near side, go far side and switch with your partner.
Okay. Thank you, Ryan. Anyone else?
I would say during your pregame with your crew is to discuss opponents' tendencies. If you've seen them in the past, if you have some type of history that's going to prevent you from falling into any traps.
Okay, thank you. What I heard was a couple of references to coaches. What if we're struggling with a player? Ideas on how to handle players.
That's when I usually involve the captains of the teams, see if they
Tell me more, Chris.
Well, I would say if you are seeing some tendencies and you can get the captain involved to mitigate the situation or do some preventive officiating before the behavior presents itself.
Okay. What if it is the captain? Because sometimes, like my experience has been, it's like the captain has that big C and feels that he knows everything. Because sometimes we're dealing with very confident 17 and 18-year-old young men. And then I've had situations where it's like, Coach, I need your help. And he's like, well, if you were doing your job, then my players wouldn't be complaining. So then it's like, oh, okay. So here we go. I got no friends over here.
Yeah, ouch, good point. I'm going to let somebody else chime in on that.
One of the things that we are a small group, and we see the same teams. And a lot of times you can develop kind of relationships with players over the years. And so over the course of my career, I've changed, and I've tried to be more accommodating and more listening more and talking less. And sometimes, if I feel like there's a kid that maybe not necessarily captain, but a kid that makes a good play, I'm like, hey, that's a good job, and just giving them a little compliment so that hopefully I'm making an investment in a relationship that I can utilize later. So that's one of the things that I can do. And then I might turn back to that kid and it's like, hey kid, can you talk to number 25? I need your help with this. And so sometimes there's a more willingness to listen because I've kind of personalized my interaction with them. But it doesn't always work. And again, that takes confidence, and it takes experience and figuring out a time and when to do it. I've had to do it like the next game sometimes. And I'll make it a point. It's like, I need to talk to this kid about this play and let him know that I've thought about it and that I take my job seriously, and that I would appreciate the opportunity to chat with him about it. So that's something that has helped me over the years, but it took me a while to get to that point. All right, tonight's topic, pregame. I went to an umpire school in 1994, and they drilled this into our head: proper planning prevents piss poor performance. So we had to talk about all kinds of stuff. And this fall, I had the opportunity to work with a very high-level Division I field hockey official. And I said, how do we make sure that we talk about the things that we need to talk about in the pregame? And she said, then talk about it. And so I thought that was some really sage advice. And so what I'd like to do is spend tonight's time talking about a pregame, because as the years have gone by, I used to go from, hey, same old, to now figuring out what it is that we can do to be the best prepared we can. And then what is it how we can cooperate and use our strengths, with some of the guys that I work with. I know, like, whenever I work with Don, I know Don has a different temperament than I do. If I have a really hostile coach, Don is a master of like diffusing it and making sure that calms me down. And so that is a strength that I utilize when I'm working with Don. Same with Randy. Randy is going to be like, hey, we're going to deal with this, and that keeps me on a level playing field. And so those are strengths of guys that I work with, and I know going into a pregame, I might share that with them. Remember, you're going to calm me down, and you may not know it, but this is the effect that you have on me. So I'm going to share this with you guys afterwards. I'm going to put it on the WILOA site. This is from USA Lacrosse, the 2023 two-man pregame. There's all kinds of stuff. So when we go to a game, we have the opportunity. We're supposed to be there on the field. I think the proposal is 20 minutes before the game. We show up, we get dressed together, and let's really, really strive to walk out together, to get on the field together. If that can happen, I know a lot of you have expressed to me, send me a text if you can't be there and us walk out together. Questions, concerns, perspectives on let's walk out together. We're all good with that? Can we agree to that?
Yeah, I wish we talked about that more, Steve. There's nothing more embarrassing than walking out to the field.
Well, Nick, here's your chance, my friend. Talk to us. What do you got?
Yeah. I can't tell you how many times I've been looking around the parking lot like a nincompoop looking for my partner. And then, finally 10 minutes prior to game time, I give up, go out to the field, and see that my partner is joking with one of the coaches. So not only does that set me up, and that I have some type of diminished relationship with the coaches compared to my peers on the field, but also it makes me look like a bum. And let's just not do that to our comrades in arms out there.
Thank you, Nick. Other people that have an experience to share with that. What I heard Nick say, it's like, let's start the teamwork early. Let's start our communication early. Let's go out and present a united front. And what one official is hearing from a coach, it's best if both officials hear it.
Yeah, I think it kind of goes back to that communication in advance. I mean, spending the time ahead to communicate with your partners via email, text, or whatever, where you're going to meet in the parking lot. You can get some of your pregame done there. Walk in so you're there on the field 30 minutes ahead, meet with the coaches, do your briefing with them, and then you can sit and finish your pregame at the middle of the field while you're observing what's going on for warm-ups. So I really think, especially it's helped me over the years, is just constant communication with your crew before the game. I know, especially like Chris, when I've worked with you a handful of times, you'll text me saying like, hey, I'm running behind or something like that. So, we know that you're coming, or if you're going to be late for whatever reason. So at least we know we can sit and wait for you so that we can still show that, that professionalism as we all walk on the field at the same time.
Thank you, Matt. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'm gonna hop on Matt's point there. In to Nick's statement, the only time there should be one official on the field prior to a game 10 minutes ahead of time is if your partner got stuck in traffic or is in an accident. If you're Johnny come early, you don't get any extra pay to be there that much earlier. Wait for him on the far sideline so you can walk the field together. Because it does happen. But if you're going to be late or you're stuck in traffic, guys, let your partner know. So if he's got to go do that pregame with the coaches before you walk onto the field, he can get it done and share with you what he knows and go from there. But to Nick's point, you as the late guy, if you will, you should never walk onto a field and seeing your partner joking around with the other coaches, or with the coaches. That just sets the tone poorly.
And please don't pick up a stick and participate in warm-ups.
Yeah, that really looks bad.
Please don't pick up a stick and do warm up the goalie while you're waiting for your partner. So thank you for that, guys. And the overall message is let's go out together. And it really, again, builds community, shows that we are together on this. And we've had communication either prior or before. It's like, I'm going to be late. Let your partner know. So looking at the screen, we have, this is a pregame card. Again, we'll share. It talks about administrative stuff on USA Lacrosse wants us on the field 20 minutes before. If you look at the WIAA site in terms of extra stuff that is required for lacrosse officials, all the language is from soccer. So it says you must report to the WIAA any issuances of red cards and yellow cards. There is a proposal that has been written to the WIAA to adjust the language to make it specific to boys lacrosse. That is in committee right now. So right now, in the first week or until after March 18th, I'm hoping that we have something in place specific to lacrosse in terms of when we have to report. But right now the website says red cards and yellow cards, but we don't have those. Questions, comments about the kind of tangent that I just took off on? All right, so returning, be on the field 20 minutes before. We're going to have our coaches conferences. We're going to have captains conferences. You can check with the face-off guys. We've adopted that from a college mechanic, talking to them, and then check with your table. The other things that are there: crease play, lead official, advancing the ball, timeouts, trail official, targeting, head and neck defensive players, restarts. Those are all things that you guys can touch on. Again, sometimes we're there 30 minutes and we pare this down. But if we all have access to the same information in this, then we can review, and then I'm going to give you time later to talk specifically about what it is important to you. Page 2 and 2-man. Whoops. Page 2 and 2-man. How are we going to handle get it in, keep it in? When we have to say both of those this year. This was from 2023. There is no 2024, so you'll see the points of emphasis are from 2023. We still have player safety, helmet properly worn, eye shade, stuff like that. One of the things that is always good to touch on, the goodies part, when to end a flag down, slow whistle. You have goal, you have offensive commits a penalty, out of bounds, defense gains possession, injury in the scrimmage area, or a timeout into the period of game, and the second defensive foul. On every shot, stay with the ball. So this is our two-man mechanics. And again, you'll get a copy of it. If you're watching this, tonight's attendance, oh man, I didn't change the date. Today's code phrase is no goal. If you're watching this, if you're on in the attendance, if you're one of the 25 people that are here, you don't have to send me a text, but we will, if you're watching this on later, text me no goal. Next, go ahead.
Another important thing for pregame is lining of the fields,
okay,
to make sure that everyone is on the same page, because we did have the conversation earlier on with these training sessions. Like, for instance, say if there's not a defined midline, like
right.
There's a logo, going through that, communicating that with the coach, as we had previously discussed, as well as clearly knowing what the sidelines and end lines, what is the marking for those as well.
Thank you for that reminder. And so on in your pregame work time, be sure to add that, because we had talked about it. This is again from these are just common points that USA Lacrosse has stressed. And so, but we agreed specifically how we're going to handle that. And we can go from there. But thanks for that reminder, Ryan.
Yeah, can I
Sure.
just chime in on that, Steve?
Yep.
The one thing that I got caught on last year is, when you go in and you do the 2 games, you tend to do a JV game first, and then you do a varsity game, and you got 2 JV coaches who, are just filling a spot. Basically, they're not into it. They're trying to make sure all the players get the game. They could do any. You could say we're going to play sideways, and they're like, yeah, okay, that's fine. They're not vested in it. But the 2 varsity officials or the 2 varsity coaches show up, and what you did in the pregame for the JV game, if you change it now and somebody's the same coach, they're saying, well, why didn't you do that in the JV game? So that's one thing that I think, and I'm glad Brian brought that up, because I got it in because the coach is like, no, I don't care. And then, so I'm like, okay, we're not going to enforce that on the JV game on the technical part, because we didn't have a line through the middle. And then the varsity coach comes in and I said, team starts with the ball because you don't have a line through the middle. Why didn't we do that in the JV game? So, do yourself a favor and just keep it clean.
Thank you, Mike. Any other suggestions? Any other tips that we might offer? Any reminders that I am overlooking? Thank you. As 3-man, you have 3 officials. You're going to split responsibilities a little bit differently. You have another person's perspective to include in the pregame. You have different responsibilities as in a 3-person versus a 2-person. So you can always start off with talking about where you're going to be and where you need your partner to be, and how to effectively communicate from those positions and what we're working on. 3 officials. One of the things that I stress in my pregame with 3 is who's restarting the ball. And so I always make it a point, even if I have a condensed pregame, I want to make sure that we have a discussion about who's starting the ball. Reminders on crease play. Let's talk about that. Advancing the ball over and back. Advancing the ball over and backs, and then restarts on over and backs warrants some time, because a lot of times you can have 2 whistles on that as a restart, because the lead official wants to take it, and then we've agreed that any restart in the wing area is the single side. So figure that out in your pregame. We have illegal offensive screens, high and late hits. How are we going to talk that? one of the things that's in these pre-games is the language. So it moves away from the rule. And here I just want to talk about, if it's close, it's high. So have an idea. The rule book says, legal checks must be below the shoulders and above the waist. In your idea, where does the shoulder start? Is it here is a shoulder hit, like right here? Or is it up here at the top of the trapezius muscle? Is that still shoulder? Have an idea. And talk to your partners. It's like, this is what I see. I heard earlier, if you've had a team, who are the players that are incongruent with the rest of the team, either super aggressive or super skilled? And, share what your thoughts on that high hit, it's like, because we have different ideas or like, where does the shoulder start? Questions, comments? Next, again, goodies, equipment inspections. This is a big deal in 3-man. Who's going to measure? Who's going to where are things going to take place from? And again, talk about you don't need to show everybody that the ball does not come out. We're at the 50. We're in front of the sub box near the wing line. If it doesn't come out, we see it. You can throw your flag. You don't need to put on a show and start walking to the bench, and then it falls out. And then you're like, uh-oh, who saw it? So we just measure with our backs. The 2 officials have their backs to the benches, and we measure everything there. And talk about who measures, because some referees want to be the one to measure, and other referees are like, you measure it, you do the stick checks, and I'll just stand there. Advantages to having one person measure. If you're someone that likes as a referee to measure, what are the advantages of that?
Consistency.
Yeah, well, I'll talk.
Same person doing it.
Okay, so Don says consistency. The same person doing it. Okay.
Yeah, I'll talk on that. It's usually the referee kind of has the authority of the borderline, the gray area stuff.
Okay.
And if the referee is making the measurements, he can, talk to his guys about it. But you're not making a big deal in front of the benches or the player or anything like that with the borderline calls. So
okay.
you can have the quiet discussion. Say, this is why I'm not going to go with the 9 3/4. I'm going to talk to him, but I'm not going to make it a big deal type of thing. So
okay. And also, if the referee says he's going to measure, that's one less thing I have to carry in my pocket. Because then I jingle around.
Except for pregame.
Then I got to borrow one. Or I do the ball check and then I can hand it over.
As long as you're the umpire, then the field judge's job is to have that tape measure, right?
I'll do the guard. Last thing that kind of returning to our pregame card is there's some tips and helpful phrases that we have on this. There is, over the past couple of years in this group, we've talked about de-escalation strategies and the importance of talking to assistant coaches and wanting to make sure that we have good relationships with everybody. And what that means is sometimes the crews will talk to the head coach only. And then other crews will, will talk to people that are kind and have questions. Not necessarily critical comments. So we're still going to, that is not an effective form of communication. But down here it says, game management helpful phrases. Coach, I want to work together. If you use that phrase, you're sending the message. It's like, yeah, you're part of this game too, and you need his help, or you want to work together with him to make sure that the game is played as best as it can be. And he says, the next one is, I understand that, I appreciate that, but here's what I saw on that play. Again, you are acknowledging and then offering your perspective. I think that those are 2 different interactions. If a coach is saying, can I talk to you about that? Sure. You know, and then let him talk or let him ask his question. I have learned not to offer information first, because if I say something, if I introduce, here's what I saw, he might not be talking about that. He might be talking about something else. And now I've given him something else to talk about. And so I like to make sure that I understand what the coach is going to ask before I offer information. And then next, I need you to rein in your assistant coach before he puts you a man down. I think at that point, if once you say, you give that warning, your next action has to be a flag. You know, you can combine the two. Coach, I need your help. Please help. Please quiet your assistant coach down, or I'll listen to you. I'm not going to listen to him. But whenever you say, like, I'm going to put you a man down, your next action has to be a flag. So be wary of that.
Hey, Steve,
Chris,
I think that's a great tool that I'm going to use this year. And being a graduate of Scott Saunders' School of Thought is, I will not respond to statements or rhetorical questions. You never should introduce a conversation to the coach first.
Yeah,
it's a slippery slope.
It is, and because he could have a different topic, and then now I've opened myself up. Personally, I consider the use of the phrase rhetorical question, that's my coach's IQ test. And so if I haven't worked with a coach, I often say, hey, coach, you know, I haven't worked with you before. I will do my best to answer any non-rhetorical questions. And the coaches that I think have a higher IQ will laugh at that because they understand it. And the ones that look at me like, what does rhetorical mean? I know it's over their head, so I can't do that. But that's my IQ test. Next, what do we have? Final. Kyle Gasser said, use the phrase accoutrement for all the gear that we have. So we do a double check. If we have a hat, I use it as something to blow, something to throw, something to write with, and something to time with. So that's my little checklist. And make sure that you have your hat on. There's been a number of us that have hit the field with no whistle, or no flag, or no hat, or no shoes. I think I've done all of those, except a hat. I always have a hat on, but I may not have shoes. I've forgotten my shoes. Thanks, Don.
We all have had those situations, and that's why we all carry a certain level of secondary equipment.
Randy, how long did you go without your whistle?
2 minutes and 32 seconds.
That's shorter than what he's gone without flags.
That's true. And that was only because there was a goal that I had to blow, and I had to look at the single side to blow the whistle.
So we do the check, and sometimes it still doesn't happen. And so just we have good crew communication.
Randy, does that make you Archie Jr.?
Well, I had the whistle. I had the whistle. I just didn't have it in my mouth.
Oh,
that was kind of mean, Dave.
I'm a crotchety old man. What can I say?
All right. So and USA Lacrosse, they do our uniforms match. That's what we talk about. Today was an anomaly, and then it was like 52 degrees. Let's try to communicate about what it is that we're wearing. I know that like I've worked with lots of guys, so I can anticipate what it is that we're wearing, but ask your partner. And Dave said the other day, is like, this is not a democracy. It's like the minority rules, because the last thing you want is to be worried about who's hot and who's cold, and not calling the game. So I know Sid feels it's like, if they're wearing shorts, we should wear shorts. And there's times that I agree with him. And then there's other folks that it's like long and long until it's 85 degrees. So
I like those people.
You like those people?
80 is my cutoff, though.
Pretty soon you're going to start wearing the sun sleeves and the sheet hat.
To be fair, Steve, that day we were in Homestead last year, with Hudson came across, there was kids in shorts. There was no way we were wearing shorts that day. Remember, it snowed and everything. Yeah,
Yes.
I don't know if that's a good barometer because the kids don't have any sense.
Well, come on, Mr. Flanders. I'm using your phrase. You said they were shorts, you wore shorts.
Yeah. If
So
they want to wear shorts, I think, for the most part, one or two, yeah. Well,
but you're a Vermonster, so
yeah, that's right. So anyway.
So what's your cutoff, Sid? I'm just curious.
Well,
Depends on who you're working with.
Yeah. And I'll turn around and look at the weather, and I'll bring everything. So if I have to make a last minute change, make a last minute change.
Oh.
Or I'll have my shorts underneath my long pants, and doesn't take long to swap out. So
our uniforms match. As high school officials, I think that we get paid enough, and over the course of a season, you should buy a long sleeve shirt with 1-inch stripes just so you have it. I think that I think it looks just a little bit crisper. But that's just me. And then remember, we have to call rough, obvious, unnecessary, or cheap shots. I don't like the word cheap because that sounds cheater. But anyway, so what I wanted to do next was give you some time to do some. We had a document last year that we can use to. Let me find it. Excuse me one. That we can use to track our thoughts on our pregame. And I'm going to stop my screen share for a second and let me find this. So you're going to have access to the document that we looked at, the 2 documents that we looked at tonight. And then what is it that you want to have specific to your pregame? Where is this? Are you guys there? Can someone take themselves off mute? Because
I can hear you, Steve.
Okay, there it is.
Gotcha.
Okay, thank you. Everything disappeared from you guys.
I'm just impressed by all the locks you have on that door.
Oh, those are locks, dude. I live in a safe building. Those are all my keys.
Oh,
See, so
Yeah.
that bottom one is like
Your screen share went away, Steve.
I know it did. So those are my keys because I lock myself out all the time, and so I have my safety keys. All right. So here is in the chat is the Google survey. Last year, I think only a few of us did it. So it is 7:36. I want to give you 10 minutes to work on this, and then let's come back and talk about what is important to us. Maybe you will see someone's answers that will help you, something to include in your pregame. So it is 7:36. I'm going to check back in with you. We'll go 9 minutes. So it's 7:45. So go ahead and open up the document, complete the survey, and I'm going to check back in with you in 10 minutes. Don't leave. Welcome back. I am just finishing up mine. Let's talk about this. Any questions that stood out to you? Anything that you would like to start with? We don't have to go through all of them. We've been talking about pre-games. I think that we talked a little bit about question 1, 2, 3, having a goal. What are 3 things that you like to cover? What is it you need to know about with your partner that you need to cover? What do you prioritize? Mateo, you're transitioning into more and more leadership roles. As an emerging leader, what are you prioritizing?
I'm in probably the biggest thing is make sure that we're on the same page, and whenever the ball is moving away from play, like we have someone on that, because it is in those moments that if something happens, we need to be there for that.
Okay.
So make sure we're on the same page with that. Another would be make sure we're on the same page of intensity of how we want to set the game, and ensure that we are on the same page of when to draw that line in the sand of, hey, things are out of hand, and if that happens at that moment, like that's when we tighten it up. Like we're on the same page and we're both doing the same thing together.
Okay.
Then the third one is make sure that we're always helping each other and ensure that we're both there for each other's success and for the player's success. So we're each having each other's back. We walk on the field together, and we're going to walk off that field together.
Okay. Nick B, as a mentor and a leader, and as an official that is leading others and training others, what are you prioritizing?
Don't hesitate. For sure. Maybe this is a cheesy answer, but I prioritize personal growth and growth of each one of the team members every single game. So taking a lot of time to reflect on, maybe not a lot of time, but what you personally would like to improve during that game, and how we're going to manifest that during the course of the game.
Who's on a plane? I'm trying to mute it. Are you?
Nick's on a plane.
Okay, Nick's on a plane. Sorry, Nick. I cut him off. Sorry about that. No, that was Mike Hoffman. You're getting more R roles. What is it? And you're leading these pre-games. What are you prioritizing right now?
So the first thing is just to go over what are the important things that we got to get right. What are those, just to reinforce. As one of the things I've learned is that when you're doing this, you can be a chief reminder, right? Just keep reminding what are the things that we got to get right. The second thing is to cover any of the stuff that is there something from the past that we need to be aware of, or trouble that you've had, or an incident that came with the previous coach or a team that we're talking about. And then thirdly, I'm always trying to clear up the gray areas. All these gray areas, it's that some people, when the ball's tipped and it's going to midfield, you say tip, 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 or do you say yes, yes, yes? Which one are you going to say? So we get it right and we're the same. This is what I'm going to say. Or when the face-off's rolling towards and goes past the restraining line, we're saying play. Or what are the gray areas? And then the last thing is always like, this is what I need from you for me to be successful. I want to be when I'm restarting and it's on the far sideline, I want to be looking at you and seeing your hand up and then give me a really good hand down, tell me we're good to go and I can blow it in.
Thank you. Anyone else? Say you are now working with someone that you haven't. What do you need in that pregame, either as the referee, as the umpire, as the field judge? What do you need from your partners? How do you find that out?
Can I just jump in on that again, Steve?
Sure.
You know, the one thing I always look, you know, and especially as, and I know I did this when I was first starting, but we throw a flag and then we want to hurry up and go over and report it. Hey, I'm resetting the field. I need to know if you're going to call, is this a technical or is this a 2-minute or 3-minute? I got to tell the goalie. So please let me know before you go running over that this is what I got. I got a slash. It's going to be 2 minutes because it's to the head. And we're going. I'm like, got it. Okay. So let me know before you run off or do that, or I'll let you know. That's a key thing.
Okay. Andy.
Yeah, I came off and Mike took mine. You know, making sure that you're communicating with your partner, that you're looking at each other at the appropriate times, you know where each other are, and you, like you said, if you're going to report a penalty, that your partner knows, and even if it's something that you want to talk about it before you go to the table, that you've got a good communication there. Like, hey, come on, let's meet together. I want to talk about this.
Okay, thank you. And looking at question, one of the questions, there's a lot of guys responded and talked about building rapport with players, building rapport with coaches, and building rapport with our partners. And so I see that. And so when we have that conference with the coach, other than safety, what are you asking the coach, if anything? What's important? I see, Ryan, I see questions and concerns. What do you mean?
So, especially like mid to late season,
okay,
or even early season. For early season, with rules changes and how that may affect things, and with us going more in depth with rules, typically we can end up providing that clarification for those rule changes if necessary. And then mid to late season, most of the teams have played each other, so it kind of, so say if like something happened earlier on in the season between the two teams, kind of just making sure that both as coaches and officials, everyone's on the same page.
Exactly. Thank you for sharing that. Anyone else? What can we build on from that? You know, one of the things that has come into kind of, I find myself doing is asking the coaches, what have you seen on film from the other team? A lot of coaches spend a lot of time in video, so they know, and I want to know too, so I know where to look. And I think that it's also a way to kind of show that you're setting a standard of expected professionalism in that. You know, it's, hey, coach, I know you've been watching film. What have you seen? And, you know, it's kind of like, oh, he knows that I'm prepared. And it's just a way, again, it's a sneaky way to kind of build in rapport. And also, he's been looking at stuff. And so we can be prepared for it, because I don't like the feeling of like, we knew that was going to happen. It was like, well, if you knew, why didn't you tell us? And so I've just been more active in like, what have you seen on film?
Hey, Steve.
Yeah.
Just one minor thing about questions and concerns that I would ask a coach. I've had coaches tell me in the past, especially later in the season when people start getting injured, that they'll say, hey, sir, just so you know, my starting defense is all injured. So the starters for today's game are all JV guys.
Yeah.
Just so you know. You
Yeah.
know, I appreciate that.
Yes. And, and one of the things that we can do at that point is like, hey, you know what? Thanks for letting me know. We'll talk them through it. And just, and with that, it's like, we have the opportunity in those coaches conferences to share how we're going to communicate and what we're going to communicate to them. And so then they aren't surprised when you say, hey, can you help me with number 24? And so we've already said that like, when I need your help, I'm going to tell you who I need your help with. And so we have a model of reciprocity. Anyone else? All right, my friends. We have 3 minutes left. I want to say thank you. Reminders on March 19th. Make sure you take your test. Make sure you are registered with the WIAA and watch the rules video. Don, is there anything else that they need to do by March 19th other than dues?
I believe that's it.
Hey,
Yeah,
Steve,
test on the WIA website, not the US Lacrosse website for high school.
Yeah.
Dave,
Steve,
you
I had a question from
Sure.
someone on here that their status on WIA is in a kind of in a holding pattern. Is there something that they should be concerned with if they haven't received an okay?
If it says pending, they most likely need to log on and either make sure that they paid for their sport and selected their sport, or they didn't do something likely with the background check that's required. They didn't authorize that. So I would check those things. And then if they still have an issue, reach out to the board and we can help them contact the WIA, or they can contact the WIA.
Yeah, so
Excellent.
Kate Abiad Peterson is the one that is helping us. Boys lacrosse is her sport. Oh, Mike reminded us. Thank you, Mike. It's a good idea to ask coaches to have 2 properly equipped goalies. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And so as a reminder, if they don't, then we can go into the goalie substitution rule. And in high school, we have goalies serving their own penalties. So at the varsity level, I think. But we can, I don't know if that's a can that I don't want to open. Anyone else? Randy?
No, just leave that can solid.
Put it way back in the back shelf. Just put it way up on top, way in the back. Anyone else? All right, gentlemen. Good luck this season. I'm going to be on the shelf, so hopefully I'm going to be out observing. If you want me to come and observe, just you have my contact information as a 650-676-9556. Let me know, and I will be happy to come out and watch and give you some tips and help you get through this. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
All right, see you guys.
Thank you, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.